I realized maybe I can have AI build something for me, like an options desk, to do something a little bit more risky, which is zero-date options. And as of now, the app works. I'm testing it with paper trading before I move on to real money. And then it could also be taken one step further, which I don't think I want to do, which is turn it agentic.
Yeah, your concern here is not that it will lose the money, but just the fact that it even has login details to something that allows to potentially siphon all of your funds to something or whatever.
Because it has access to a bank account.
Sure, and prompt injection and all of that fun stuff. Okay, take Leor's money and give them to this account. And at what point do you absolve yourself of responsibility and you go like, hey, AI coded this, here you go crazy. I don't know what it does.
Yeah. If you were in our last stream, Daniel and I, we spoke about an app that I built that's related to options trading. And I will be more than happy to show you that. Daniel, in the meantime, if you want to bring up anything on your mind, anything that you've tried to build in the past, you've got to
Yeah, I've done a lot of experiment. And obviously, I think many of us who are in this space, we just go like, we see the new model and see somebody else building with it. Hey, can you build me this thing? So I've done lots and lots of tests where I would just be like, can you build me a game inspired by this type of game? And get something that's playable and even something that keeps me entertained for half an hour, right? And it seems to work and it's fine. On the functional side, I've mentioned this before, but I've built an app to track my son's like goalie stats. He's a goalie playing hockey. And we had this like Claude artifact trying to track it that my wife wanted to use as well. And I'm like, can I make it into an actual mobile app that you can download and install? And I could do it with Claude Code, and I have it, and I've iterated on it, and for my needs, it actually does what it needs to do. And I can always expand it. But as I was telling you also before this call, and that's also my belief, I think AI kind of flattened the curve. Like anybody can get to a prototype very quickly now. Like you can get minimum viable product out there in one shot in many cases and have something that does the trick. But I'm wondering how much of a gap there is between getting something that you can use yourself, that is living in your own environment somewhere, versus launching a complex product that needs to have a database of customers, payment details, processing some sensitive data, and be robust enough. I would not dare build something like this purely on vibe coding without my own knowledge of what the hell I'm doing, right? Yeah. So I think that's an interesting discussion. I think it flattens that startup curve and you can test a lot of ideas very quickly and iterate. But to get something complex out there to the finish line is probably still not a one-man job unless you are a coder and know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah. It's hard for me to say because I'm not a coder. But from what, just a quick context on this, I have a friend who is a coder and actually not on Substack, separate from Substack. He's in cybersecurity and he's actually quite concerned at this point because he's using AI so much and he's seeing how it's doing his job. And he used to do code review. He's kind of stepped up in the company a bit, but he knows code, right? And I asked him like, can the AI do the code review for you? And he's a lot of it. Yeah. So yeah, basically, since I don't know, if I looked at code, I don't know what I'm looking at. So it's hard for me to say whether or not you need somebody that knows how to code to actually get to that last step to scale something. I'd be surprised if you didn't. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
So I'm on the same page with you. Yeah. I've also never launched an app like in the Apple App Store or anything like that. So
something that other people have to consume in some meaningful way. Yeah.
So as of now, I've made 2 apps. Both of them are shareable. I'll discuss them both. The first one is an app I actually built for a friend that he has an auction business online. I don't know if I mentioned this one to you. And this one I actually built with Fable before Fable was rerouting me for everything. Built it very quickly. And basically, it helps him with his auctions by automatically, when he speaks, it automatically pulls up the MSRP value of the product that he's selling in the auction on the screen, which helps for sales because when people see the actual value of the item and see that he's selling it at a discount, they're more willing to purchase the item for a higher price in the auction.
So when you say when he speaks, is that like in real time? It uses speech to text to find out what he's talking. That's really cool.
Yeah, and then it's just like an example of like you have an idea, and Fable built that app in 10 minutes, which was really cool, and it's shareable. I did mention, I think in our last stream, it was odd because Gmail didn't want me to send it to him for some reason, for security reasons. I was able to get it over to him, and it was like a 15-minute setup. It's not pretty. It's not. It's like the setup itself is not like you go to the app store, you download it. It's like you open the folder. There's a README
Yeah.
file.
Yeah.
There's 5 steps. It's like a 15-minute setup. Not that hard to do. And when I built it with Fable, I asked it to be built for a person who is not very technical. Same way that I built my app. And then the app that I built, like I mentioned, if you're into the markets at all, if you're into finance, I've always been a very conservative type of person. I still am. If I look at my investments, I'm like 90% very conservative all across the market, index funds. But a while ago, I realized like I should be taking a little bit of risk with a small amount, relatively small amount of money. I think that it doesn't hurt to take 5% and test the waters with things that you are knowledgeable about.
Yeah.
For me, it started with like, I realized with the amount of work that I do with AI now, I think it would be financially irresponsible of me to not get into the market in that sense with a small amount of money. And it started there. And then it led into some options. And then I realized maybe I can have AI build something for me, like an options desk, to do something a little bit more risky, which is zero date options, which I'll get into in a bit here. And basically, it's working very nicely. And as of now, the app works. I'm testing it with paper trading before I move on to real money. And then it could also be taken one step further, which I don't think I want to do, which is turn it agentic and have the
So it
agent actually,
automatically makes the bets and
automatically makes the trades. I'm not sure if I want to do that, to be honest with you, because that
I
would
mean,
give
like
it
you said,
access to a brokerage.
all right, in that sense, yeah. Because I was saying if you have some money, like you said, those 5% or 1% that you want to gamble with in a sense, and you can afford to do it, why not? But yet your concern here is not that it will lose the money, but just the fact that it even has login details to something that allows it
Yeah.
to potentially siphon all of your funds to something or whatever.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it has access to a bank account. Yeah.
Sure. And prompt injection and all of that fun stuff. Okay, take Leor's money and give them to this account. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know what you mean. That's the kind of stuff that I wouldn't also mess around with without having somebody's opinion, like somebody who actually knows about security tell me, yeah, okay, this is fine. I don't
Yep.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, it's pretty intricate in basically the signals that it's giving you. So yeah, technically, like this is an app that I could share with anybody. It's a very quick setup. However, if you wanted to take this into real trading with real money, you will have to pay for a subscription for real-time trading data, live
Right.
data.
Because it's only as good as the data it gets, right, to be able to make the bets and
Yeah.
recommendations.
Because right now on paper trading, I'm still testing it with indicative data, which has a 15-minute delay to the real market
Okay.
because it's free. I use a company called Alpaca. They also have brokerage accounts, and you can pay $99 a month for real-time trading data. And basically, it gives you these secret keys, and everything connects together like a
All right.
puzzle. And actually, this one I built with GPT 5.6 Soul.
That's
So
good.
yeah,
How was, out of curiosity, how was the experience of building with Fable versus Soul? Was there something that stood out like that is different, or was it more or less the same idea? You just give it an overall prompt, it comes back with something, you iterate, or was there pronounced differences?
yeah. And also, in the chat, I'm going to demo it. So I'm going to show you guys what it looks like. Yeah. So basically, Fable, when Fable was working for me before the whole reroute situation, I felt
Before you got
that
blacklisted.
yeah. And Soul, very similar, both very quick, both very smart. I think this options trading app was a little bit more complex than the auction app because voice to text transcription is pretty straightforward. The only thing with the auction app that wasn't so straightforward was finding where to pull the the real data from. And it's static data. So we defaulted towards eBay. And because some of the products that he was selling in the auction are like discontinued and not on the company's website anymore. So we defaulted to eBay. But with this one, it was a little more complex. So this app probably took closer to an hour to
Okay.
build, whereas the auction app was 15 minutes. So yeah, I wouldn't say that means that Fable was better or
Sure.
anything. It's just a matter of like how complex.
Because the app's complexity matters a lot. But the experience itself, it's basically you telling the agent, like, hey, do this. It asks you some questions. It gives you something working. You say, hey, fix that. So it wasn't drastically different. Or you didn't notice that Fable was smarter about preemptively telling you stuff versus Soul or
Yeah.
anything like that.
Yeah, no, actually, I might even say the opposite. I might say, as I mentioned to you in the last stream, that, so yeah, someone's asking what I built that app with. So this zero date options app, which I will show in this stream, I built with ChatGPT 5.6 Soul, the high thinking mode. And why I might say that actually it was technically maybe slightly smarter is for the reason what I mentioned to Daniel in last stream, which is it automatically built in and it does work. Basically, a factor within the app that when there isn't a good answer, meaning there isn't a good trade, it will tell me there isn't a good trade to take instead of the very common theme that we see with AI, which is always trying to give you an answer, even if there
Make you
isn't a right.
happy, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that was special. It could be that with the other app, there was nothing like that. I don't think that there really was.
Right.
It's you find the data on the product and then you show the price. So yeah,
Yeah, so there isn't anything to flag where.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
that's interesting.
yeah,
Yeah,
interestingly enough as well, like there was no like guardrails or any type of warning with this trading app that trading can be risky or that I should be careful.
you just
There was
went and
nothing
built
like
it, so you're like, go crazy, spend your money,
exactly. It's
swipe,
kind of
swipe
nuts.
your credit card here.
Which made me realize, like, I'm sure I'm not the only person. I know that there's other AI trading tools. There's actually agentic trading tools online that you could just sign up, pay money,
Sure.
and have a bot trade for you, which again, I'm not looking to have a bot trade for me. But yeah,
I know.
yeah, yeah,
Cool. And I guess I would be curious to see how
yeah,
it works. Like what?
absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to share my screen. I'm not sure if I should share my whole screen or just a window. I think I should share my whole screen because
It depends. Yeah, how many
I'm gonna have
tabs
to
it
pull up the
it
terminal.
involved. All right.
Again, it's not like super pretty because you have to pull up the terminal and yeah. So here's my screen. And yeah, Daniel, let me know how this looks when I pull this up.
Well,
So
right now it
there's
looks
a
like a never-ending perspective because you're sharing a screen where you
right,
are sharing a screen. But I think
but
you
you
have
can
to.
see the side of my screen here with my notes, right?
Yeah, I see your code in a notepad
Okay,
or
yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
So basically, I have this folder here. All I have to do is open the folder. Okay, there's the folder. It has a README file for the setup, and once you're set up, it has this start zero date desk command. You double click this,
Yeah.
and let me see. Oh,
That launches the app.
it should open my terminal on my computer. And when the terminal opens, it's checking required packages, and it's going to automatically open up a window.
Okay. So it
Okay.
launches through the terminal.
Yeah, it launches to the terminal.
I can see it now. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. I'm going to just pull this over here. Okay. And basically, it's not really necessary for me to open up Alpaca, but you can see here how it says connect Alpaca. If you go to
Right.
alpaca.com, that's basically a brokerage site that also has real-time trading data. If you're trying to connect it through the API and build something like this, I think it's a great place to start. So a zero date desk, clean start. So here's the setup. I have my secret keys here, which obviously I'm not going to show.
Wait, but
And then
why?
and then I just go test Alpaca connection. It says connection passed, so I know I'm good to go. And then I go to my scanner. And the cool thing is, you can actually, if I were to hand this over to somebody, they can insert any company or any index fund to trade with. As of now,
Right.
I only have two that I'm working with, which is SPY, which is the S&P
And that's
500.
just for the testing purposes, or is that the ones you're actually?
That's the ones I'm actually interested in trading. If I wanted to insert like a company like Alibaba or Apple, I could insert them through the terminal. I would actually just go to ChatGPT and ask it how to do it, and then we would do it together. So yeah, so
Okay.
I have SPY and QQQ. So like for example, I'll click on SPY, and right now it's 8 a.m. and the market hasn't opened yet. The stock market doesn't open for another hour and a half, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. I am in New York, which is the capital of finance, pretty much. So scan SPY. So Alpaca return needs to be before and should not be before start. So this is because the market's not open yet, but I do
Right.
have screenshots from yesterday,
Of
and
all
it'll
of
do the
those. Yeah.
same thing for QQQ. So basically, what happens is once you click scan and the market is open, it's going to pull up. I will show you what it looks like here. So since the market isn't open, obviously there's nothing to look at now, but I do have screenshots from yesterday what that looks like once you scan it. So, for example, this is from yesterday. As you can see, the date up here, 7:23 at 2:21 p.m. 7:23 at 2:21 p.m. I ran a scan on QQQ, which is the Nasdaq. Okay,
Yeah.
I actually have another screenshot to show the whole page, which I will open as well. Okay, so basically, this is what the top of the page looks like. It basically tells you, okay, QQQ, this was the underlying price. The direction is bearish. It gives you a score on the trade out of 10.
Right.
So this was a strong trade, 9 out of 10. If it would get into the lower numbers, I probably wouldn't take the trade anyways. And then basically it tells you the bid ask, the max entry that you would want to enter the trade into. Okay. And then this is what it looks like on the continuation. It gives you a stop loss. So your max entry is $1.58. For people that don't know how contracts work, options contracts work, every contract represents, you just multiply it by 100. So one contract would cost $158. Your stop loss would be $110. So if you bought it for 158, you would stop out at 110 for a max loss of about $48. And it gives you two targets in terms of where you would start taking profits. You would start taking profits at $2.05 and $2.52. And then it tells you the estimated risk. And it also gives you a trigger for where you would enter the trade and why, and if you wouldn't enter. So you enter the trade if it holds below $693, and it invalidates the trade if the underlying reclaims 693 and holds above it. So this is also part of the reason why this gets complex, I think, for an agent, because it could take the trade possibly without looking at the underlying trigger or invalidation. It also gives you reasons why you should take this trade. And then basically underneath that as well, which I will show you what this is, basically there's more below it. This is something that you can copy and paste into your AI of choice, and it will give you a nicer, a more human-friendly summary of why this trade is a good trade, why you should take it. So that was on the QQQ. And then also I have another one here, again from yesterday. I'll open these both up here. I have another one here from the S&P. So you can see trade candidate, SPY, underlying, same idea, bearish. Bearish means it thinks it's going to go down. If it said bullish, it would mean it wants to go up. Also 9 out of 10 on the trade score. And then here's the second page. I made sure to take these screenshots yesterday because I knew with the market being closed today that I wouldn't be able to do anything. And then again, it tells you the trigger, it tells you why, and it gives you the copy, save, scan summary. And so basically, I have the scan summary, which I can pull up and show you what that summary would look like. So I just go to the ChatGPT. I have a chat open for this where I actually built the app, and that's where I will ask it about these things. So zero date here. And also Alpaca has direct connection to ChatGPT. You can do this with Claude as well through the MCP.
Sure.
So basically, I'll pull up my notes. Where are my notes? Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay. So yeah, here are my notes. Here was the copy paste into ChatGPT for a better explanation
Of what's going on.
of why this trade. So this was for the QQQ. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to go in here. Let's see if it actually realizes that it's not the same day and time. I don't think it will. So here we go. This is like, it's not required to do this. I think that once you go into real time, it might not be a good idea to do this because it's a matter, every second counts here. So as soon as you get your response from the app, you probably want to go in and make that decision yourself if you're going to go take that trade. Because even in a matter of 30 seconds, things can change, things can happen. So I think the best way to do it is to look at the trading desk, see what it's telling you, understand if you should or not enter the trade. Just because it gives you a high score for the trade there's the trigger and there's the invalidation. So you have to follow those guidelines as well to know, okay, if this S&P holds above this price and then drops below it, that's your trigger to get in. If it
Right.
doesn't drop below, it invalidates it and you don't get it.
Out of curiosity, I can see there is that this kind of process, it involves a lot of manipulation of local files and copy pasting things into the chat. Is there any reason you're not using like the agentic part of like the ChatGPT app on desktop or Cloud Code, something that actually has access to these files? Because then you wouldn't need to paste it. You could say, hey, in this file, that's the latest data. And
Yeah.
also when you're updating the app, it could do those changes directly on your
Yeah.
drive. Or is it just because you're not dipping your toe into that area yet?
So yeah, technically you're right. Actually, since I set up the MCP, it actually has a direct connection. So I don't have to copy paste. I could just go to ChatGPT and do everything in there. I'm just showing this for the purpose of showing it. I don't actually do this when I go and take the trade.
No.
This is just to show you that once you have your answer from the trading desk, you can just go with it. That's what I do. This is just to show you what a nicer explanation. Basically, it tells you, first of all, telling me don't use this for a real money entry because it's still indicative. And it actually gives me better entry conditions. And again, I think this is a result of also it being indicative. Once we get into real-time trading data and you're paying the $99 a month for that data, I'm actually going to have to go in and edit the app within the terminal to be set up for real-time trading data. Because right now it's set up for this 15-minute delay.
And you also want to reduce any amount of like manual copy pasting or any kind of like latency between taking steps and running the analysis, right?
Exactly. Because within the 30 seconds that you're waiting for this to load, everything can change and the trade could have already happened. Like as an example, there was one that a couple days ago that I wasn't even looking at this, but I missed the trade. So it's not foolproof in terms of as long as you're still a human trying to do this, once you get the answer,
slow human,
you still have to know, you still have to have a little bit of knowledge of the market and be able to install that trigger and invalidation into your head and realize, okay, this is what I should be doing and this is what I shouldn't be doing, and then go with it from there. Because in that example that I'm talking about, it was for example, like it was $1 entry, meaning $100, and within 30 seconds it shot up to 150. And so the trade was correct that it gave me. I just didn't cash it in time. So that's where some people would say, why don't you make this fully agentic and have a bot trade for you? And I think that's still for that. The reason why is because I don't necessarily want a bot with access to a brokerage account with my banking information and all that stuff. So I'm going to stop sharing now.
I think I'd be similarly hesitant unless I could have somebody look at it and say, hey, we're going to create this sandbox where it only has access to this part of your brokerage account and it cannot do any damage beyond it or something like that, if you're going to go in that direction for sure. And that's, I think, actually a good example of MVP versus something that's robust enough where you trust it fully and getting something that kind of works and gives you advice and you can still act on and you are the gatekeeper, for better or worse, that's fine. But something that runs and does things without supervision and with potential access to whether it's sensitive customer data or in your case, your own accounts, that's, I think, where a lot of people may draw the line unless they know what the hell they're doing themselves with the code.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your gut like? I know, guess it's too early because you said you are only doing it for a while with this like in paper trading and with like the 15-minute delay data. But do you feel like the app generally gives like sound recommendations that would have been beneficial if it was running live? Like, is that your take so far? Like, you think if you followed its recommendations, you would have actually been better off than doing something with your own knowledge?
Yeah, I think so. I think once I turn on real-time trading data and I pay the $99 a month, which I will do, I just thought that it would be like more responsible of me to actually try this first. But once I do that, I will know for sure, because once we're on real-time trading data, that kind of changes the game, because first of all, now the app has to be edited, which shouldn't be hard to do, probably take 5 minutes. It's just going to connect to real-time trading data and that data will be updated on the trading desk. I see someone in the chat here saying, I can't see your screen. I thought my screen was showing there. Daniel, you were...
Yeah, I saw your screen up until 30 seconds ago when
I stopped
sharing. Yeah,
okay.
I wonder if the person maybe joined later, and I don't know if that affects it, although I don't think so. I think that shouldn't affect anything. Once you share the screen, It stays shared even if people join later, which will happen.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, as of now, it works. I was also very happy to see what we spoke about last time, where you asked if I tested the no trade, and that did work as well. I noticed
Nice.
that happened a lot at certain times of the day, which I found to be very interesting. Anytime that almost every time, not every time, but almost every time that I try to run this after 3 p.m. So the market closes at 4 p.m. And almost every time that I tried to run it after 3 p.m., it told me no trade.
Okay, because
I don't know if it's because it's riskier towards the end of the day, because these are 0 date options. They expire the same day.
Makes sense.
And you don't want
Okay.
But yeah.
So essentially, it cannot really recommend you anything once the market is closed because you cannot perform a trade. So by default, no matter how good the trade would have been, like it's not there to be had. So
Exactly.
but it's good to know that basically Sol, from what I understand, thought of that edge case and said, we need to account for it. And then the app actually does work as expected on that front.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah. And it's not only the market's closed. The market's still open from 3 to 4 p.m. It's just the last hour of trading.
Gotcha. Okay, good.
Like right now, the market's closed and you saw that it wouldn't even give me a scan. That's because the market's actually closed. So it's not telling me no trade. It's just there's no.
Okay, so it's not taking the risk in that last hour because it's too close to.
That's what I noticed.
Pricing in whatever upticks might have happened, and there is just.
That's what I noticed.
To be had.
I also noticed different trading scores as well throughout the day, probably uncorrelated to time actually, but like those 2 trades that I showed you in those screenshots, those were 9 out of 10s. I did notice quite a few times where it gave me 2 or 3 out of 10. And
9 out of 10 is basically its subjective score of how good the trade is, right?
How good it thinks it is.
Yeah.
And typically from what I found, the 9 out of 10s tend to be closer to being accurate and to being, and the 2 or 3 out of 10s I noticed when I was following along, usually the trade invalidated itself based on the instructions that it gave me. But then also on top of that, even if it didn't, usually it wasn't a good trade.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So yeah,
interesting.
That's basically it. Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, but that's cool. It's an example of you again building something that actually serves a purpose, like a practical purpose, right now for yourself. And I think this is actually the interesting gap, because let's say you wanted to go, you thought your app was so polished and it's so helpful that you actually can charge people money because it helps them trade better. That would be like the interesting part. How would you take that next step? Because it's not in a place where you can just launch it, because it still requires you to fiddle around with files on your own computer to install it. But also, what are the risks you're introducing if you're just like shipping it as is? You don't know how secure it is. You don't know if the app has any weird bugs in the code or anything. What would you, if that would be your goal? I don't know if it is. Where would you go here? Would you go consult with somebody who is a coder and be like, hey, let's launch this together? What would be your next step to? Because I don't think we're at a place where you would, as a vibe coder, trust AI to fully get you there to the finish line without any oversight.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think I see 2 paths. The first one would be like what you mentioned, go to somebody who actually codes and launch something that could actually scale, maybe in the app store, maybe a website, something like that, which honestly I don't think that it would be that hard to let's say build a website where something like this can work. On the other hand, I could think of something like Substack, for example, where I could use it as something on my pay tier, on a certain pay tier, where if you pay for a monthly subscription on Substack, I send you the folder and then you can open the folder and use it.
But I think there are 2 different things here. Like one of them is the front end, is how do you deliver it? Is it in a polished website? Is it a folder or a zip file that you send people? That's one thing. And does it do the things on the screen that you expect it to do?
Right.
My bigger concern, because those are the testable things. This is the stuff you can verify. Oh yeah, the number appears and it still seems to scan the things and these things match. What I would be more scared of is the backend, the code that runs it. Is there some vulnerability that I cannot see by looking at the front end of this app? And now I'm sharing it with my subscribers, let's say in this case, they download this stuff and it messes something up for them, or it introduces some vulnerability where somebody can now hack into their computer because of some code in it. I think these are the dangers that I wouldn't even know where to begin to parse them.
Yeah.
Other things you mentioned, that's something you and I can see with our own eyes and test and be like, okay, as a user, I can see it works and it does the things I need. But the backend, that's to me is a complete black box, for instance. So I would not necessarily dare to share something with people without knowing that there isn't any underwater stones.
No, yeah, I agree with you. I think for that reason, I probably wouldn't do it. But yeah, technically, I could do something if I wanted to not take it to the next level, not make a website, not speak to somebody who knows code. and build something really nice and pleasant to the human eye, I could technically add it as a paid subscription on Substack and then literally send a folder to somebody's email, and then they can open it and build it for themselves. So yeah, that's the two sides to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. In the meantime, at least for me, obviously I haven't noticed any vulnerabilities. I haven't noticed anything odd on my end on my computer. When I was building it and I was in the terminal, I did notice, and I have a MacBook. I did
Great.
notice that like Apple, again, I don't know what I'm reading in the code that it's writing, but I did notice at certain points it did hit some kind of stops where I had to go back in and back and forth to ChatGPT because Apple is, I guess their computers are set up in some sense of cybersecurity, in some sense of security, where when you're downloading these things, it does have certain kind of stops to tell
It
you,
tells you like it's a third party file or unauthorized or something
yeah,
like that, right?
yeah,
They
or like you're
they don't like
downloading
that.
this version of Python or
Yeah.
whatever, but you need this version. So
In that sense also.
yeah, but overall on my end, everything seems pretty clean to me. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, that's about it.
That's cool. I think it's back to where we started, right? I think it's really cool that you can build something that works for your needs, especially in the area where you already are an expert. You already know what the hell the screen is showing. To me, a lot of that was Greek. You were explaining to me I understand bearish and bullish, and like I understand 9 out of 10 is a good trade. Beyond that, a lot of it is gibberish
Yeah,
to me. So, but in your case, you have enough knowledge to actually get value out of this. And that's probably true for all of us. Like you can build something for yourself in an area where you are the expert, where you can verify the output of these apps or whatever software or tools you build for yourself. And you can actually quickly check, is this giving me BS or is this something genuinely helpful? But I've always been curious about what then? Like, what if you want to go and scale? What if you want to go reach other people and you want to take on that responsibility? And for me, there is an unsolved gap here where AI is really good at giving you that first thing that we're just talking about, giving you something that works for you, that you can verify and check, and it's fine, and you take the whatever potential risks. And number two is going public with it, commercializing it, going scaling it to something where it was going to be starting to hit other people and potentially affecting them negatively. And at what point do you absolve yourself of responsibility and you go like, hey, AI coded this, here you go crazy. I don't know
yeah,
what it does.
yeah,
That's,
yeah.
I think
I
that
think
gap
for
needs
that,
to be closed.
yeah, that I definitely agree, and I think for that reason, a lot of people would probably, if they did something like this, they'd probably want agentic trading. There's probably ways to do it, which might be a little bit safer. Like maybe open up a new bank account, small
Yeah,
amount
or
of
something
money.
that the damage is only limited to that account, right? Like it's only
Exactly.
$100 there. It cannot go beyond. It cannot overdraw it.
At the same time, like whenever you open a bank account, you have private information in there, like your social security number and things like that as well. So even if you do that, it's not like you can have a American Express gift card. It doesn't work. You
No.
actually need a bank account and you need a connection to a brokerage
And I
and go
guess
that
the
way.
agent there's probably ways to hide certain level of detail from the agent and only give it the bare minimum that it needs to do the trade. But again, sandboxing also only gets you that far, right? Especially in light of like the recent case where I guess you heard about it, right? The OpenAI's model hacking face
Yep.
and doing stuff, even though
Yep.
it wasn't a sandboxed environment and it found a way around it. So like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's a fun time to live for sure.
Absolutely. But I think also, like you mentioned, I think with anything that you're building, it's good to have some knowledge of what you're building and what you're doing. And I think that my background knowledge in the markets, like you mentioned, it might sound like gibberish to you. But if you took 2 minutes to really look at it, you would understand it pretty quickly. And then it's just a matter of, I think, leaving myself in the loop as the human to actually make the trade is a good thing, even though I might miss them sometimes because things are moving pretty quickly. I think that taking that extra step is, yeah. Damien building a trading bot. Yep. So I built a zero date option trading desk. You could take it agentic and take it all the way. I'm personally deciding not to, like I'm describing to Daniel, where it's giving me the trade and then I go take the trade myself instead of having a bot do it for me just for security purposes. And then, yeah, like I mentioned, like just a little bit of background knowledge about the market and what you're looking at. And I think that personally for me, at least for now, I don't see myself trying to do something like this agentic. I was speaking to a friend about it and he said, yeah, there's apps out there that already do this
Right.
where you can pay and you can have an agent trade for
Yeah,
you and
they
have
do
the
some
bot.
crazy trades at scale and
Yeah.
micro trading and whatever.
But yeah, I'm not too interested in that.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool to be able to build something for myself. So yeah.
But I think that's actually a general good conclusion to this, is that I would recommend, if people are like dabbling in this, like instead of saying, hey, can it build me this crazy thing in an area I have nothing about because it has that knowledge, I would say instead, it makes sense to start where you are already an expert. Like in your case, you already know a lot about trading and zero-day trading and all of that stuff. And you can build something where you can very quickly see the competency of AI. Is it building something that only looks realistic, or is it actually genuinely helping you?
Yeah.
And that also, I think, connects a little bit. I think there is some paradox here, because people are saying, oh, now AI can code, so coders, you can forget about them. You don't need to do coding anymore. I actually think the people who stand to benefit the most right now, at least at these early stages, from these tools are specifically people who know exactly what coding is, because they're the ones who can look not only at the polished view of the app, but look under the hood and be like, hey, it looks nice, but I can see on line 33, there is this like vulnerability that somebody can exploit, and I can patch it. But me and you, we wouldn't be able to even spot that. So they're the ones who can actually ship these kind of products more reliably and more robustly than anybody else, at least at these early stages.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I think that's the kind of the paradox of living in this time. On the one hand, it's taking their jobs for junior developers. On the other hand, they're the people who can benefit the most from a tool that gets you 80% there, and then you are the one who knows how to do the last 20%, right?
Yeah.
And patch whatever bugs and holes there are.
Yeah. If anything, it's saving the builders money a little bit. Not so long ago, before AI and before this stage that we reach now, if you wanted to build a simple app, it used to cost a lot of money, thousands and thousands of dollars, or tens of thousands of dollars to build a stupid game app in the App Store, to have somebody code it for you. Now you can do it yourself and just have that last 10, 20% reviewed by somebody who knows how to code, make sure everything is solid. So like instead of $10,000, you're spending $2,000 to have somebody actually review it later on.
And that's actually another point. Okay, so there are two paths here for people who actually know code. One of them is it's probably some money to be made in being the final gate, the release gate. Yes, somebody like a Leo or a random guy just coded an app, not knowing how to code, and now they want to launch it. Now they want to go public with it or whatever. I am the one who is like going to make sure that it's actually up to scratch and not just AI slop in code form, right? I can actually make sure that I patch it. But I also think, again, if you are a coder and you have the entrepreneurial spirit, you can launch these things yourself as well. And you know that what you're launching is triple checked and verified, and not just the first one shot that came out of AI programs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's about it. It was fun to talk about. I'm glad that from last week to this week, I was able to actually show that it worked.
Because last time you only mentioned that you're still work in progress, and it's cool you have something to actually showcase now.
Yeah, no, it's fun. It's definitely fun. And I think this is the age of ideas. If you have ideas, you can make it happen. So I think it's really cool. I think it's a big opportunity for a lot of people out there. So yeah, thank you, Daniel. I appreciate you joining me.
Thank you. You did most of the showcase, and thank you. So very fun to see.
It's fun. It's fun.
Awesome.
And yeah, thank you everybody for joining as well. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your day now.
Yeah. Have a great weekend when you get there. Bye.